I will call the Wednesday, February 12th, 2025 meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee to order. We're meeting in room 120 of 1 Liberty Lane, Norfolk, Mass. Also available via Zoom. I'll take a roll call attendance because we do have at least one member who is remote. Aaron Hunt.
Here.
Justin Casanova Davis. Here. Chief Kinney.
Here.
Todd Lindmark. Here. Chris Baker.
Here.
Kevin Champagne here. All right, first item is public comment.
Hello, Donna Jones. Assuming the project is under budget, how does that affect the borrowing of the money? Can we borrow less? Taxes go down a little bit? I
So-
mean,
The way it's done is we borrow the monies for the fire department. Once that's done, if there's monies that are left and available, we would bring it to a town meeting vote. Because you can only do two things with it. One, move it over to another construction project of similar duration, or you can have it to reduce debt. And in this case, we probably have it to reduce the debt, which will then on a going forward basis, reduce the amount of the tax implication for the residents.
okay,
So,
thank you.
Okay. It's okay. We have in the past, but we've set a precedent. Okay. Steve, I'll turn it over to you for OPM report.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Good evening, everyone. Let me just share my screen. Just making sure you can see that
Yes.
cover sheet. Okay, thank you. I'll get started because I know some members or some attendees have a short time frame on this. So quickly, our last meeting as a committee was on November 13th. Progress to date, punch list has been continuing by the contractors as well as warranty work. We've had a few calls back on the overhead doors, but they have been making the repairs, and there's a few adjustments that they've made to some of the sensors. Phase 2 work actually went up to the end of December and a couple of days beyond that for a few things. But at this point, there's no more Phase 2 work, the site work going on until spring, which will be lawn, seeding, and then the subsequent maintenance. Top coat of paving, the line striping, and the flagpole. The base is in, but the flagpole itself is in the, I think it's in base 6. So they'll erect that. They may do that beforehand, but that's one other thing that has to be done. Again, schedule look ahead. Post occupancy monitoring is starting by the HVAC commissioning agent and is coordinated with Matt. The 1-year verification period with Eversource and Mass Save that was going to start in January, but we had a couple of issues with the HVAC system and a couple of back ordered pieces, which we're waiting for one. So I wanted to defer that until the entire system was running, so we get the proper data. Again, punch list and warranty, spring work, and then the potential on the added work items that we're going to discuss in this meeting. Other issues right now, Castagna, the architectural and mechanical punch lists have been worked on. There has been a retainage reduction associated with those, which would be essentially coming up on the next application for payment. They are sort of holding off till later on this week till we get the final numbers. We did also get a TCO extension. We appeared before the planning board. They approved it to June 30th, and the building department agreed and extended the TCO, which should be well beyond when the spring work is done. The Mass Save incentive, the town did receive the incentive amount for the first part of Path 1. It was $112,200. And again, we'll work through the next year, and there should be a follow-on, provided we meet the EUI of another incentive. And just as sort of a side bar, we had coordinated through the chief, we had the town of Boxborough fire chief and their building committee tour the building on the 7th, last Friday, because they are in the midst of designing a new fire station, and they were quite impressed with the station, and the chief did have a good discussion with Captain Mike, and got some good information from him. Any questions on any of those items?
Doesn't look like it. Steve?
Okay.
Good.
So the next item, just a recap of the budget, and I did send Todd an update. Todd, there might be a couple numbers that are a little bit different. There was some changes in the added work list during the day, but essentially with the Castagna's contract and their current change orders 1 through 6, the soft costs and the potential added work, the total costs are $24,860,313. We had the appropriation of $26 million. We also got the Mass Save incentive. So right now we have total remaining funds of a little over $1.25 million, which I think that's a pretty good number. Any questions on that? Okay. So the next item, which is a large topic conversation, liquidated damages discussion. Last time we talked about liquidated damages, which, as a reminder, that it is part of the contract. The town has the ability to assess them if it's deemed valid. We talked about it at the July 10th meeting. At that time, contractually phase 1 substantial completion was 6/15. It ultimately we got TCO for phase 1, which is the building, on the 11th of September, and the fire department moved in on the 13th. But since that time, and going back and looking at what had been issued, we, from April to February, there was 43 proposal requests issued, and from June to now, essentially, there was 23. Approximately 16 were owner requested. And the PCOs submitted from April through December, there was 50, and June there was 33, and about 20 were owner requested items. The storefront change, which was change order number 1, if you recall, that we changed the storefront manufacturer to Conair. That change orders were issued on November of 23. Delivery didn't come until July of 24, and the subcontractor installed it pretty quickly, but the installation was complete on 7/29, which obviously is beyond the original substantial completion date. Eversource Permanent Power, we got that on the 19th of June. Again, a few days after substantial completion, and obviously there was more work that had to be done once you had the power. Generator was a long lead time item. Submittal was approved on April 20th of 23. Final testing didn't get completed until June 25th of 24, after the delivery finally came. HU 1 and 3 were also long lead time items. Submittal approval process went from June to October. They were delivered in May of 24. And again, a fair amount of work had to be done after the fact. The final tab report, testing and balance report, was completed in August 28th of 24. We had the fire alarm test at the end of August. State elevator inspector came on the 4th of September. And the station alerting system, which was not a general contractor scope of work, was ongoing from August to September. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because we essentially have some concurrent delays, and that becomes a problem if you want to assess liquidated damages. There really can't be anything else going on or affecting the contractor's work. Essentially, you have to be clean on one side. And looking back at the data we have and what occurred after our July 10th meeting, we were still giving them additional work to do. And one of the conversations that was held during that July meeting was the manpower issue with the electrician. But the electrician essentially in the month of July manned the project so that he did catch up and was able to wind back down again in August, and did still have some change order work that occurred right at the substantial completion time of September for some code missing items that were on the deficiency list from the inspector. Just sort of moving on with this, because a few items that I want to touch base on. Castagna, for all the change orders that they did and their 95 PCOs, they never requested a time extension. And they also did some work at no charge. They put the door into the roof training roof at no charge. They constructed the brick column, sort of that tribute column in the training room at no charge, and there was other things here and there. You know, they worked well to get with everybody, especially the fire department. Dawn Whittier at this point is not requesting an amendment for additional contract administration. Vertex says the OPM, we were able to extend our contract budget essentially through the end of January without asking for any amendments. And we had carried in the budget for the last few months a 2-month extension that was included in the project budget. I've taken it out now since I don't have that amendment signed. But in my discussions with Castagna, because of some of the additional CSM, Doug Barletta's time, they're going to give provide a $17,000 credit. So we had talked at the last meeting about what the town's risk was, and it's rather small at this point. You know, there was concern about the town not wanting to pay anything more above and beyond. You're really not. You're getting over $1 million off of this budget, which is always our intention to do so, get as much as we can. I think this project went really well. You know, there was some complexities in it. I think everybody on the team worked well, and I'm not, you know, when you have, like I said, when you have concurrent delays, concurrent impact to scope, it makes it very difficult to go forward and try and collect anything from a contractor. Don, I don't know whether you might have any more, Don or John.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Hi, everyone. And John Thompson, I don't know if you know John Thompson, he's on the call now too. He's been involved with the project from the get-go, but more behind the scenes. And based upon our conversations and the way you've just outlined this, Steve, we would absolutely concur with your assessment. I think if the town wanted to seek liquidated damages at this point, knowing what we know, it would not be hey, we're assessing liquidated damages and too bad, so sad. There will be a fight. So, and the question is, at what value is it worth the fight? And from what we see here, and as Steve said, this project has been excellent for everyone involved, for Castagna, for Vertex, for us at Dorn Whittier, and most importantly for you as the owner. When you look at the changes, the total changes and the changes that haven't gone into a change order yet at $230,000 on a $20 million bid, you're just over 1%. That's pretty incredible because that includes everything. That includes the unforeseens, that includes the designer oopses, that includes any owner requests. Historically, you could see anywhere from 2, 3, up to 5%, depending on the project. So I think all in all, this has just been an excellent project. So we concur with Steve's assessment here.
So, I don't know if you're opening it up to questions, Steve.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have one question, then we can kind of see where it goes from there if anybody else has others, but so what does Vertex had carried 2-month extension of project budget mean?
When I was doing my worst case budget for the project, like I always do, I had inserted a 2-month extension if it was needed. I never sent in an amendment for that. In my update that I sent today, I've taken that out because it isn't committed yet. But I've put it, but I've moved it and I put it into the additional work items list. That doesn't mean that we need $68,000. That was just a basic average on what 2 months were during the height of construction. Right now we're into February, and we're nowhere near that amount, and some of it, a good portion of it at this point is being covered by the Castagna credit. But as far as going forward, there's going to be much less time at this point, and really until they start up in spring, besides maybe some paperwork items, processing bills and so forth, really nothing on site. I've had Doug on site and he's been dealing with punch list and warranty issues, but I've had him doing other work. He's been doing desktop constructability reviews for other projects for us. So he's not billing out at 40 hours a week. And probably what I'll be doing very soon is having him sort of clean up his area and give the report writing room back to the fire department and coming back to the office.
We're happy with him to stay there.
I know you are.
Won't even charge rent.
I
So-
know, but at some point, Chief, he's got to go. So
that was kind of my question, is that the 1.25 million that you listed does not include the 68,000 that's in the work list.
no, it does. The 1.2 is accounting for, or is including $230,000 of the and maybe I can go back to it right there. That 68 is in the 230. That I'm including that. If you don't do any of that, you say no to everything, you're at 1.48. I mean, I don't think you will, because some
I don't
work
think we can say no to everything.
is done, and we do need to reimburse the contractor for it. But yeah, but I'm just hypothetically.
Sure. Okay.
Let's touch on a couple of points there, if I can jump in. Good.
Yeah, go ahead, Aaron.
All right. So I mean, we don't have to pay for the stuff that's been done because we didn't approve it to be done, right? And second,
So
I mean, that we don't. I guess we don't really need to answer that question. That was more of a rhetorical question. We can get back to it.
Sure.
I guess, but the second point of my item is I don't really remember why we're talking about liquidated damages, but my presumption is we're not done with the work when we were supposed to be done. Is that an accurate statement?
That's correct. The job went longer than what was in the contract for completion dates by phase.
Right, and it's not done yet, and we don't know when it will be done.
Well, it's going to be done in the spring and it's going to be done before June 30th.
So, well, that's what's planned, right? We
Sure,
don't know
yes,
what's
of
going,
course.
we don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen in the spring.
Understood.
Right.
Sure.
So, I mean, I think we should keep liquidated damages on the table until the project's done. And we should understand what the number might grow to. Right?
Well, Aaron, my plan is that for what has to be done, we don't need someone there full time. They're doing loaming and seeding, maintenance of growing a grass, and then top coat and striping. That's essentially a stop in for the morning on the pave day for someone to make sure it's going. We don't have to be there. My intention is that we wouldn't be there. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I would have anybody available but myself, so I would be the one that would probably be coming by, making sure that along with Castagna, who's their superintendent, still has to coordinate this work to be done because it's all subcontractor work.
But again, you're not coming by at no cost, right?
It depends on, Aaron, depends on how long I have to be there. If I have to come in for a couple hours, I don't necessarily have to
Right.
charge for those.
Well,
I mean, it's towards the end of the job. I mean, if I'm there, if someone's there a weekend, it becomes a problem. If
right.
it's a
So is
ride by,
the
it's not.
right? So is the management and construction team willing to say that this is how much it's going to cost to finish the project and hold to that number?
Well, if we're going to get into the numbers, and some of the numbers right now are estimates because some of the work I just found out about as being request last week. So we did not have time to get hard quotes for everything because some of it's new. If you're talking about phase 2, the work that they have to do, I can't see where they would come up against anything, as far as like a latent condition. There's no more ledge involved. So I don't see
I'm not even
anything.
talking about risk though. I'm just talking about getting the work done, period. Right? There's a cost to getting the work done,
Yes.
and it's not done. So,
Well, on Castagna's end, but the work that they have done is in their base contract, in the balance that's due to
but
them.
the fact that the work isn't done is creating other costs above and beyond their costs.
Well, we haven't paid them for the phase 2 work. We won't process any of the payment until it's done. So we're holding that money. That's like, I don't know, it's like
I'm not concerned about their money, right? I understand that their money is contract. I'm concerned about the other costs that are associated with the fact that they're still working.
I think Aaron's talking about the OPM costs. I think.
And the rest of the costs, right? So what we're going to talk about tonight is a bunch of added scope. And what we just heard is if we actually add scope to the project, we're getting rid of our leverage. So as a building committee, how can we vote to add scope to a project and remove leverage from a project that isn't done?
Well, a lot of we're not adding, I don't know if you had a chance to go through the list, but we're not adding, I've been trying not to add anything more to Castagna for a while. There is one that we had to issue because it's electrical and low voltage that hasn't been done yet. But a lot of these items that's in the middle portion of that list is work that was done in order to get it done while we had the chance. Some of this stuff is just equipment for the fire department. That's it's order it and deliver it, or it's an owner's contractor, not through Castagna.
Well, then why is that being held against us in terms of negotiating?
I'm sorry, say that again?
I think Yeah, he's muted. That was intentional.
Aaron, say that again?
We can't hear you.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm in a bad spot.
that's
You got me now?
okay. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, so, I mean, but what I heard was, is the reason that because we added work to the project, it's reducing our leverage in terms of talking about, these negotiations, right? So
Well,
are we not talking about this list?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff that was added to the contracts, some of that's already in change orders. Oh, this started out, if to do the history, this started out as a fire department list of things that they wanted, and we brought it up to the committee. This list has grown because there was still items in the PCO log, a lot of them that are done that just hadn't been converted to a change order that predate that fire department list. And I tried to break this list up into sections, because then the last section is a number of things that have come up recently since we had our last November meeting. And like I said, some of it I just I got a list on as of last week, which is a lot of the items that are on at the end of page 2. Excuse me,
Well,
page 3.
I think I'm overcomplicating the conversation then, right? So I guess the point remains. I don't know why we would give up the leverage of liquidated damages when the project isn't done, right? Unless the contractor is willing to say, this is the final cost and we'll deliver it on this date, right? Otherwise, I think we should keep the option open.
So, if I understand correctly, Steve, I'm assuming you weren't saying we can never pursue liquidated damages. Maybe you were, but I think you were saying that the discussion back in July was if the project goes long and there's added cost for the OPM, the liquidated damages will cover it. Now there's reason to have to rethink that, because it seems like there's some things that the town requested that led to some of that, an extension that now makes pursuing liquidated damages murky.
Correct.
Irrelevant of this list, that stuff has already happened. It's things like the door that got added, or any number of things that got added back over the course of the project. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's some things. Even there was a number of things, and was it? I mean, we weren't making changes just to make a change necessarily. There was validity to it, but it wasn't part of their original contract. So, you know, when a contractor's at the end trying to run to the finish line, they don't want to do any more additional work, but they did do the work. And I don't think they thought that there was liquidated damages hanging over their head. They would have just said no. And again, I mean, part of that is because of the relationship everybody had on the project team to get the project done, get it done to the satisfaction of the fire department, and have it be a good product. I mean,
So
I look at one thing as, here's one that's sort of out of anybody's control. We needed to add 3 bollards at the transformer. That was an Eversource requirement. So, that created additional work. There was layout. We had to get Eversource there. Just a small thing, but it does impact work. And again, Castagna just went ahead and, all right, we'll take care of it. We need ballers around the transformer.
So, where did the date of June 30, the completion date we'll call it drop dead date of June 30th come from, Steve? Is that just because of the TCO extension from the planning board? Is there something else that date get discussed somewhere else?
Oh, the June 30th of 2025?
Yes.
Well, originally we were talking about May 30th. But the issue behind that is we don't know what the weather's gonna be like. You know, when's the weather gonna be acceptable to, you know, start planting grass? So it just pushed it another 30 days. The intention is by Castagna is as soon as they can plant grass and it meets the requirements of the specifications, they'll come in and they'll do the seeding. And then from there, you know, you also need temperature for doing your top coat of paving. But that should, the only thing that should, you know, should be done and would probably hold some money on for a bit is Emmanuel, who's a landscaper, needs to come back and water and make sure that the grass is acceptable. We'll be able to go through all the plantings, all the trees and bushes, and with the landscape architect and see whatever didn't make it through the winter, and they'll replace those. You know, they did the sod on the west side. It's really the east side and the basins that are of concern. But we're not gonna, I mean, as soon as they hydro seed, we're not gonna say you're done. We want to make sure that you have a proper stand of grass and it gets inspected by the landscape architect. So that line item for landscaping, we can't pay that out until that's accepted. But we're not gonna have anybody there watching the grass grow.
I guess what I'm asking is you're saying up until that May 30th, June 30th date, whatever it is, you're not recommending that we pursue liquidated damages to cover OPM costs during that time. I guess what I would like to know is if, I don't know, grass doesn't take, Castagna needs to keep coming out here. And because of that, maybe for some reason, Vertex needs to keep coming out here. Is approving anything on this list now preventing us from assessing liquidated damages later on if the project continues to drag on?
Well, that's a great question. And I guess that maybe that's what Aaron was getting at as far as, you know, when are they telling us that they're going to be done? And, you know, are we all of a sudden you know, they haven't planted any grass and it's July.
Right.
Again, but you know, if they're not out there, we're not going to be out there. I mean, trust me, I prefer to have some kind of an amendment to cover any costs that I may have, but and like I said, Castagna has agreed to a credit to cover some. But again, I mean, I can certainly work with you know, not leaving the project completely, but you know, maintaining, you know, coming to a committee meeting or having a you know, a short job meeting as we go forward. But I mean, if we want to, I mean, we can certainly ask Castagna what, you know, what's their drop, whether they can guarantee a drop dead date. But it should easily be within the extension time. And you know, they're obviously they're also wanting to, I mean, there's a fair amount of money that's left in their contract, and they need to you know, they want to bill because they've reduced that retainage down. That's well, the monetized punch is down. They're billing for retainage release down to about a little less than 1% because they've got a number of subcontractors that they have to pay. And we do want to process that. Right now, we've got like over 1.5 million on their contract. and they're looking to drop down to about, the monetized punch list for the architectural is about 123,000, mechanical is about 34, 35, and I think there's 175 left in phase two. I have to look that up. So there's a fair amount of money left, with processing a payment to them now, which we really have to, we do have to release money. But I wanted to hold off on them submitting something until we had this meeting.
I guess in summary, just from my understanding, no one is saying we don't have a right to leverage liquidated damages. You're just saying you don't recommend that we do it at this time.
Well, I certainly don't recommend that we do it for the phase one. Again, I guess I see your point. If like I said, if it's September of next year and they're still doing work, that's probably a different story.
Yeah, I think Aaron's concern, and I think it's a valid one, is that if the reason why we're not assessing liquidated damages now to cover some of your costs is because we added work as it went along, that the risky thing with approving anything on this list that creates work for Castagna is we're back in the same boat if we're sitting here in September.
And it goes, I'll add to that, that not only that, but if the argument is that phase one was late, well, that's what delayed phase two. So that's why phase two is late. So there's no leverage in phase two either.
Well, I guess we could make the stop point. Okay, December 31st of this year. Okay, and we know right now with the work that you have on your plate, you're due to be completed by let's just say May 30th of 25. Without adding anything to their work list, which will knock off a bunch of these items. Doesn't mean that they can't be done by some other way, with direct hires of contractors. Doesn't necessarily have to go through Castagna. And again, this entire list isn't all work that would be on Castagna's plate, but there is some. So like I said, some of it's done, some of it's equipment, some of it's IT items that we have separate vendors for. Has nothing to do with Castagna's contract. I don't know if you want to go through these each one tonight, or whether that's a separate meeting with a smaller group. That's fine. Like I would like to do it at some point soon.
I mean, I would like to go through the list tonight. I don't know how the list has kind of been lingering. And I'd rather not do it in a smaller group. I think this is a committee decision of what we want to do.
I'd rather get through the list now. Just go ahead. We have Tom for IT, we've got the fire chief. Let's go through the list, put it together.
And so I'm open to ideas of how to go through the list. My thought is we go through each item and we just decide, do we want to take it off the list? Do we want to vote yes or no on it tonight? Or are we just kind of letting it, or we're just holding it?
Well, I mean, ideally, what I thought is, because I fully intended to go through the list, that we're saying yay or nay to each item.
Yeah, I think I'd rather maybe summarize the vote at the end, unless we do a vote for each individual. I feel like we need to go through them all first and determine yay or nay as best we can, and then do an official vote maybe at the end.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know if anybody else has a different idea, but that's my thought.
I vote no.
Todd votes no. Okay. What, maybe you'll talk about this a little bit, but there are items on here that say yes, that they're already complete. Just to be clear, I know there was one item the last time we met that the contractor did before we said to go forward with it. The other yeses in here are just change orders that had been discussed previously that never got captured in an official change order to date, and you're just putting them in this list to kind of have it all in one place. Is that?
That's correct. There was actually two from the last meeting
So,
that they had done.
yeah,
But,
so,
like, yeah, so that's correct. You're correct.
so, yeah, I guess. Well, I don't know. I don't like the, we can go through that, but just so everyone knows that some of these yeses are things we've already talked about, and they're not really things that have come from the town as requests. They were change orders to the contract that just haven't been processed yet. So maybe you can identify which ones those are, Steve, and we can just skip over them. Because
Yeah, a
they're
lot
already
of them
kind
are on that second page, but yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Most of the
some of these I
second.
can go through very quickly. Others may have more of a discussion, but.
Sure.
One-
So. And I think it would be important to identify anything that absolutely needs an answer tonight.
And just also, from the time that I sent you the list to now, there has been some changes. And changes being you know, a different quote. We got some additional information. So if you're looking, as I go down this list, most everything is the same, but as we get to some items, you're going to look at your list and it's going to be a little bit different. So just a heads up on that. It was a work in progress. So you want me to start?
Sure. Let's see how the first one goes, and then we'll figure out how we're dealing with all of them.
The first one's great because we had it on the list and we solved the issue and we crossed it off.
Oh, I was already skipping that one.
Oh, no. Listen, I want credit for saving some words. No, not yet. Number two is the Sharps cabinet for the vestibule. For the fire department, they collect, people drop off Sharps and they have they already have a contract with someone that, a company that comes and does the disposal. But this would go in the lobby or in the vestibule of the new building. I don't know, Chief, if you have anything to add that. We did get a quote on it. And we just sort of been holding it. Hopefully, we did have one item that went up since we got an original quote. I think this was the one. But we've had some of these quotes for a while.
Yeah, shark cabinet, that was something that Leo and I was a priority, and I think in the process of everything, it kind of got overlooked, but it was something that we wanted as a department from the very beginning, just because we deal with people Sharps, and I really don't want to be touching them. I'd much rather than deposit it and the company come get it, and we don't touch them.
And is that one, that doesn't involve Castagna at all, or are they installing it?
No, that's a purchase and it'll be set in place. And if it has to be anchored down, I know the fire department will take care of it. That's what we talked about. No Castagna involvement.
So do we want to see if it's a yes or a no right now? For me,
I feel like it's a service we provide to the town. It's a yes.
I was gonna say, it seems like something, if we're not already doing it, we should be doing it. So I feel like it's a yes. Aaron, any opinion or?
To be difficult, I would say we should consider them all before we consider one, but I don't disagree in this particular instance.
Yeah, I agree with you in principle there. I think some of these might be obvious, but okay.
All right, the next one is again, same location, vestibule, mailbox. when we were doing, when we had the temporary entry on the west side, we went and just got a mailbox, you know, a cheap mailbox. This is a you know, a stand-up mailbox for the post office to deliver to the station.
How does the mail get delivered now?
We've been the best.
Is that what was done before? Did you guys have a mailbox?
We had a mail slot. Was in issue 2 that I brought up early on, is that our mail currently and previously was not really secure. Anybody could have just walked in and taken it. And we're in the same boat now because the vestibule is open, they can walk in and take it. So to have, you know, a better solution than just a tray that drop a letter in is.
Good. How do people feel about that one? My thought is it seems fairly low cost. We can hold that one, but we go through the whole list. People don't feel strongly one way or the other.
I'm so strong to be needed. I just don't like the, you know. I do feel strong. From a priority standpoint as well.
Yeah, hey, Dan.
I like it as important. I just don't like the kind of lack of, you know, we have stuff delivered, we have medical supplies delivered, and it just sits on a table instead of going, you know, into a box.
Why don't we, when we go through maybe the votes, we'll.
Okay, I'll leave that one open. The next one is to replace a truck fill discharge with adapters from what was designed at 1.5 inch to 2.5 inch, which matches the equipment that the fire department has, which will speed up filling up of the tanks in the trucks. And we did, this, at least currently, this is through Castagna, but it's really the plumber. It's all his work. There's no GC work except administration and usual of it. So we do have a PCO for that hasn't been implemented yet.
So.
So for this one, either way, you're gonna spend the same money because we either have to buy enough adapters to make the 1.5 hook up to our truck to fill it, or they can change the valve. But either way, I gotta do something because right now it's not conducive. Or
The truck's quicker, right?
yeah. Well, actually, I mean, it's a very cumbersome, ridiculous process now. We have to go to like 5 different trucks, steal every adapter and that we have for 1.5 hose and make this big long concoction just to fill one truck. So for instance, we had brush fires and we're filling both squads and the tanker. You're not doing that. So
I feel like this is a quick one, at least for me.
This seems like a yes for me. Again, we'll go through an official vote if people don't have a strong opinion yet, but. Any other thoughts on it from anyone?
I'm just because I don't know, I'm just curious what goes into changing that adapter for $2,200.
it's more the adapter itself, like the little appliances.
Oh,
for
it's
some
a
reason.
material.
The
cost.
materials for some reason are not like, yeah, there's a little bit of labor in that, but like, you know, I can get a simple gate valve right now, and it's gonna cost $1,100. And it's
Yeah.
a single, like, it's ridiculous, but that's, you know.
No, I just, at first I looked at it and thought it was just cost for a plumber to come in for half a day to swap something out, but if it's material, it's different.
Yeah, and don't forget, I mean, it is prevailing wage, so
Yeah. Yep.
the hourly is up there, especially for the mechanical trades.
So Aaron, I don't know if you missed the explanation on number 5, if you have the list in front of you, but it's replace truck fill discharge adapter from 1.5 to 2.5 inch.
Good.
You're good, okay. Next one.
Next one is bollard covers. These are the sleeves that go over the bollards. We did have Castagna priced that. He priced that from one of his subcontractors. The price was exorbitant, so we made the decision to purchase the bollard covers. And there's I think there's 42 of them, and they're essentially, you know, the sleeves that go over the metal bollards. The transformer gets yellow, and then we have a gray sleeve for the rest of the bollards around the station. But this is to purchase. This is material only purchase, and we did get a quote.
Okay, so, and why are these needed? That's a question too.
No, I know when we,
Well-
originally they were gonna get painted, and the discussion I thought was that, you know, you paint it, you're gonna basically have to maintain it with the sleeve. If you have something happen or something gets damaged, you just buy a new sleeve. You're not paying for paint and whatever else, so,
That's correct, and we took the credit from the painter for something that had to be the fitness room that the color needed to change.
Okay, and so if they don't get covered, they're just galvanized,
Yeah,
metal,
that's how they are now. Yes.
so probably not visible, is my guess. Or
yeah,
not
they kind of,
very visible.
they're kind of muted, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the tops, there's no, like, they're filled with concrete, but the tops have, you know, like water will sit in the top or whatever, which.
Do you know how much the credit for the painting was?
Like I said, we swapped it for work that needed to be done. That would have been a change order.
All right, if anybody has a strong opinion on it now, or we can come back to it. All right, you can go to the next item.
Next item is the request for 4 additional security cameras. This is one that was priced by Castagna, but it's really coming from the electrical contractor's security subcontractor. These are cameras going into positions that are already roughed in for future cameras. But they're essentially on the east side and then towards the back. The chief really has no view on those. And I guess essentially if they had been included in the original contract, that's approximately what you've been paying, maybe a little bit less, but that's the story on that. Again, that's something you could certainly go direct to another vendor and install it, but we went through Castagna to have the continuity of the vendor that put the other ones in.
Yeah, just to let everybody know, there's absolutely zero view of the entire church side of the. We have good coverage on the front and good coverage on the bay area in the back. But the direct back, like where the HVAC stuff is, there's nothing, you can't see that. So with that being the case, like I am definitely willing to like explore cutting that in half possibly, but I definitely need view of the church side. I have nothing there right now. Especially now that we are not using that entrance as a primary entrance, you know, and even before that camera that was there, the mech had access to, we didn't. So that's the only thing that bothers me. Like the cameras are great. I have view of the things I feel like we need to have view of, just that one, both ends, either end of the building, I don't have view. So like on the side, the east side of the training room, there's no, I can't see any of that, and I can't see anything on the church side. And I'm willing, they did some, they fixed one of the lenses on one of the cameras on the rear, which the camera's really good, so we could eliminate that one. But I think the two, I could come down to two, but I just want to have some view or semblance of either side of that building being recorded, because there is an entrance on the west side, obviously just two. I would like to be able to see if we have, people or someone's not supposed to be there. And then I think on the back, since they fixed that issue, I think I have enough view of where the electrical room door and the door is to come in from the outside on the back. We can see that, now that they fixed that kind of camera. So.
I can have a comment on that one. The camera on the side of the community room, will that be able to see the UPS, the generator?
Yes, that should be able to see the generator, because it'll be right in sight. If it's like the others where it's, it's got that rounded bowl, it kind of gives you a 180 of whatever it's.
I don't remember what the spec was, but one of the blind spot is the generator right now. We don't really have a very good view of it, except we have one view very, very far away. And the generator should have a camera view on it, for the most time. For the most part, it's important.
And I
If things
think
happen, you can see, you know what's going on.
Yeah, the one on the east side should cover that. But because we had talked about the third one being one on the light poles in the back, that would have covered that and the back fully.
Mhm.
But if we're trying to reduce,
No, I just want to make sure that we don't,
Yeah.
cut up so short of that part of
Yeah.
it.
So if you reduce your cameras, are you gonna have any blind spots?
the back may still be the very back, like in terms of giving a clear, good view, but I mean, I'm hoping the other cameras would catch somebody walking that direction unless they came in from the, Pine or the 115 side, which is.
So what do you want to do with that one? Do you want to get a new number which you're comfortable with, or take a vote on that cost?
Three cameras, right?
Yeah.
Because the third camera is covering the generator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if we did three, that would, I'd be very comfortable if it was three. I wouldn't actually be.
I mean, the more we talk about these items, the more stuff's just going to get added to the list. Like, I think we just need to put a pin in it and move on.
For that item, Aaron?
No, I mean the list. Just say like, look, I mean, we're going to go through this list. It's going to take 3 hours. But for one reason or another, everything on it's going to be needed, right? So let's just make a deal and say, all right, fine, we'll approve this, but that's it. No more asks. We're done.
Well, I think there, so I get what you're saying, Aaron. There might be something that comes up that becomes really critical, and I guess we'll have to review that as a committee if we feel like it's warranted to add on. I get your point. My thought is if anybody has questions on any of these, we should just talk about them now before we vote on it and just approve the entire list. What does everybody else? Anybody else have an opinion? Good with what to go through?
Well, why don't you let me flip through the list?
Sure, yeah, why don't you go through the
Yeah.
list and we can stop. Someone can say stop if they have a question on the item.
Yeah, I mean, let me just touch on, because I think some aren't absolutely necessary, but, so, I'll go through them. And if you want to stop me, just stop me. Otherwise, I'll just keep going.
Yep.
Number 8, one we had talked about lowering, there was a request to lower the countertops in the report room to desk height. That's one that was already done. We took the next one off. Number 10 was reconnecting the catch basin on the east property to allow to drain. We've been monitoring that. I mean, the catch basin, the problem with that is catch basin was tied to a drain manhole. The primary duct bank went right through it. The line was not shown. It was unknown where it went until they dug it up, and it was a reinforced concrete pipe, and it got broken. We've monitored that drain for a year, and it's never overflowed. It is draining. This
Steve,
is some,
to start, I don't think anybody asked for an explanation on this one, right? Let's just keep going.
Next, stop that.
I agree with her.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't have something that,
Well,
can I give a recommendation? Because I don't really feel the need to go through the whole list. I have a couple of items I have questions on about if they're necessary. And if anyone else has them, can we just point them out and then have Steve or Chief or Tom speak to it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so I will ask on that one. So are you suggesting we don't do anything? It's $14,000. So
Yeah.
are you suggesting we don't do anything and we come back and address it later if something happens?
yeah, we have a design for it from the civil engineer. You know, you can, someone else could do it.
So let's take it off the list then.
Yeah.
It's a good one to take. $14,000. Take it off the list.
If there are any others like that, Steve, I think point them out, but.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I will, sure. So
are
anything else on the first list before I flip?
Well, let's just go through the whole list, Steve. What are the ones that we think we can take off?
What's the activate top plug of the duplex outlets? Is that something that's like an option, or was that something that was missed initially?
Okay, I'll give you a very quick explanation of that. You've got duplex outlets in the day room. There's 4 of them. The bottom half of the duplex outlet is always on. The top half is connected to a switch. I know maybe some of you have that in your house.
Yep.
The request is to rewire them so that they're all even the top outlet is always on. I don't know how much of an issue it is for the fire department. It was their request.
Well, what's happening is the ones that are connected to switch, when the system goes on and off, or when we get a call, it toggles whatever's plugged in off. So like if they're just charging a phone or whatever, it shuts it off. So those plugs, there's nothing that's gonna be plugged in them 24/7. It's usually their chargers or things like that. So it's annoying or a problem when they go to, like if they have their computer plugged in to charge, and then all of a sudden it's at 0 because every time the signals go off in the station, it trips them, which is,
That's just a feature to turn it off because you're leaving or something. Yeah.
so that was,
I'm gonna put a 6 plug on it. It's power from the bottom. You can plug it 6 out.
I'm game. You did not,
Chain a bunch of plug strips together.
I mean, I'm not a fan of that in terms of like, you know,
Yeah.
as a fire chief, I kind of, you know, that is something I usually gig other people for, but.
So we're leaving it on the list?
Sure, I was just curious.
Okay, all right.
So the 113, you can, I just don't understand, like, I take it off.
Number 13, you said?
Take it off.
It's good. That's another $8,000. Okay.
What else?
Keep going.
Good for this page?
First page, 16, 18, and 19 were already crossed off, right?
Correct. And 21.
21. Okay.
3
I don't have
additional
it.
stools for the kitchen, the decals, the murals. We finally got a price on the murals. Item 17.
Yep. Does anybody have any other questions on anything on the first page?
Now, the wire management, you know, it'd be nice to have, but Tom and I discussed that too. We probably can do something after the fact.
Which item, which number is that?
Yeah, so I'm saying we can do something after the fact for me.
It was already crossed off.
Or excuse me,
No, it's-
18.
Oh, 18 is already crossed out.
Yeah, 18, I look back at the minutes that was taken off in the October meeting, along with 19 and 16.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Are you zeroing out the ones that we're saying cross off so you can give us a final total at the end, Steve?
well,
Or no?
not as we speak, but I can at the end, sure.
Or what are we doing for, because I just to make sure I am covering it, what are we doing for the dining deck? Is that something we're supposed to take care of on our own, the fire department? Which I'm fine with. I don't like.
we took it off.
It was
Well, what,
told
Chief?
the picnic tables.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was told it was taken off the list.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that was taken off at the October. I think the discussion was that you guys are gonna pick something up. Or build
that's
something,
what-
I don't know.
We still got money for it though. Like, it's not going through. the state.
Sounds like a good
We still
project
got
for a
it.
Boy Scout.
Hey, if there's Eagle Scout that wants to do that,
My son.
Okay,
Anyway, all right. So the second page, I think, is mostly change orders that have already been talked about.
right. I mean, 24, we're in a dispute with them, but I wanted to show it to you. This one needs discussion. 25, hose rack and rolling ladder for the app bay. We have a price from Castagna on that, but it's not done. We didn't issue them a change order and they didn't go ahead and do it. So that's an item for the chief.
because that was
$21,000.
brought into the table
Yeah, what did-
before the turnout gear lockers were done. I thought those things would have been here by now or arriving, and they haven't even been processed to be ordered. So
wait, so
these-
we own them already or?
no, like we approved those in a meeting like a long time ago.
Okay,
Like I brought that up in a meeting, like probably before October. And they were discussing it because of the delivery time. So it was tasked by the group here to like go through and look, find exactly what we needed from the same manufacturer and provide it. And then for whatever reason, it never got fully processed, but that
Yeah,
was.
sorry, chief, I might have been out of that loop or something, but this is one that's been, on my list has been lingering. And that's why it isn't there. This is strictly equipment. There's no real work by Castagna. But
No, it's
they were
just-
using the Tog Locker vendor who they already had a relationship with.
But is anybody saying we shouldn't do it?
No.
And let's keep going.
move on.
All right, let me see. 27 is also something that isn't done. I don't recommend this. It's changing outlet colors.
Oh, that,
Scratch it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
27.
Yeah.
27, change outlet colors. Okay.
The credits, being, let's see, yes. Then going down, 36 is added line striping at the apron for parking in the app bay. It's simply an additional stripe line to assist the guys in backing into the bays. I don't know, maybe you don't need it anymore, chief.
No, we need to.
No,
we need to-
no, I didn't see my building insurance. We need it.
$700.
Yeah.
Okay, then we can check that as being, okay, all right. The others are yes, then getting down to the next item, a bunch of items.
I'll be scrolling messages.
I don't know if anybody has any questions. We need a couple drops for the Zetron system in the app bay. We need a couple drops for the training room and a couple for the future. I got a quote for one, an estimate for the next. Laser printer for admin. Natan has a quote for that. The firefighters are looking for 3 tool sets. One's an electrical tool set. and
Is there
then-
anything that we don't need? Let's keep going.
think we're good. Yeah. Tom and I did discuss the options for the we already have the monitor there. We were trying to figure out what's the best option to, have that scrolling the messages we want or whatever. But I think it was cheaper than that number, right? When you finally got back the scrolling messages for the lobby monitor.
Oh, you, Steve already changed. It was only
Okay,
150.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you look at your, that was one of the ones I changed recently. Same thing with 46. You may
Perfect.
or may not have that one.
Because those numbers originally that I reviewed, I'm like, we don't need but yeah, all right.
Yeah, no, Tom got me a quote this afternoon.
Perfect.
Okay. All right, last page, unless, I don't want to move off too unless someone's got any questions. Yeah. Last page.
A bunch of these are new, so I just sort of threw a number at it. I guess from 53, 54, 55, 56,
So
57.
let me ask this, Steve. Anything that we don't have quotes for, and we approve this list tonight, and the number comes back higher, how are we resolving?
Why don't we just take it off the list?
Or something else to make it up.
What do you mean by that, Steve?
Well, if it's something that's more of a priority than something else, and we need that to fund it, then we'll take, like mounting old fire department plaques for $500. We can use that if we need $4,000 for seal coating exterior sidewalks. And I don't necessarily have those as a priority.
But we don't have prices for these. At the last meeting, we said we needed to stop extending this list, right? So all of this stuff goes to something that somebody else can do at a later point in time, unless there's something on here that absolutely needs to happen.
Yeah, I think the last page looks like it's all estimates,
Yeah,
other
well,
than the last two items.
if anything that would need to be done is 58 and 59.
That's
58
the credit and your in Vertex.
No, no. If you look at the screen.
Oh, it's sorry. Yeah.
Yep. I'm this interior door width at stairway 1. There's an issue with that it's too narrow, and it was not the fault of the contractor. They put in what they were supposed to, so that would have to be changed out. And code.
No.
Interior door with a stairwell.
As you come in the lobby,
Yep.
the storefront door or aluminum glass door that goes to the stairwell 1. That's was shown as being 2'8" width of the door, and I believe it needs to be
3 foot.
3 feet.
Yeah.
I don't know, John Thompson, are you still on?
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I'm here.
Theirs, I don't care about that door.
Yeah. That was basically a glitch in the drawings, the way the doors were modeled. So the door ended up reporting it in the construction documents as 32 inches wide. It should have been 36 inches wide for a clear opening or door leaf size. At a 32-inch door leaf size, technically it doesn't comply with the building code. So,
Okay, so then we got to do it.
yeah.
What do you mean typically?
Well, I mean, the building code requires
does it or doesn't it?
the door leaf as it is does not, or the door opening does not comply with the building code. Building code requires a 32-inch clear opening with the door open 90 degrees. And as installed, it only has about a 29 3/4 inch opening. So.
Sounds like we're moving on.
Okay.
And 59 is a backflow preventer and drain cut-in for the SCBA washer, which was equipment that was added. It wasn't part of the plumber's original scope. So, and we've been fighting with trying to figure out how to do that without putting those things in, but we can't. So that's another estimate. That's it.
So Steve, can you, And how do we, we gotta get that updated number, right?
Well, you've crossed out, hold on. You've crossed out 3 items.
Yeah, so we probably need to attach this list to the meeting, Steve, the updated.
Yeah,
list.
yeah, I'll have to send you the updated and I'll mark it up so that it'll show which ones were crossed out. I'll redline it.
What do you mean we only crossed out 3 items?
No, you took off certain ones, like number 10, number 13. And
What-
number 27.
So what about the last page? Like I thought we were just taking all that stuff off.
So there's some of that that I really.
Okay,
Tyler and I were just talking, so, the keypad on the day room door needs to be done. That's just a big security issue. The kitchen outlets keep tripping, which,
But we don't have prices on any of these. I
Yeah.
guess is the thing is we approve the amount and then the amount's different.
yeah. Well, I know the ones that Tom and I just talked about, but you can take the water connection and ambulance squad bay out, that $4,000 one can go away.
okay.
The wall over workstation and triage room and the computer monitor for triage room, Tom, I just talked with Tom, we can probably do that, all of it for 2,500 or 3,000. We don't need to use Castania's. The data drops are there. Tom takes care of the computer. We just have to find the mounts and all of that, like.
Yeah, no, I don't have Castagna involved in any of these. These, like I said, yeah, I'm just putting a number on them that I think is in the ballpark. Because they're new to me. So we're crossing those 2 off, Chief?
Yeah, water connection can go away.
56 and 57?
Yeah, so the number, Tom just said we probably can get it all done for 2,500
Oh,
instead of
okay.
8,000.
So change the number, okay.
Right,
No, it'd be number 57.
57?
57, you can drop back to like 1,500, half of it.
1,500 for 57 and 56.
I don't know what that is.
Is what? 56 is what?
56 needs to be down to 1,000.
1,000, okay.
And 57 can be down to 1,500.
Yep, okay.
All right, so I have a recommendation that we vote on the total as the amended list. And we don't add anything more to the list. And if something comes in over the estimate, that something on the else on the list either has to be done for less or taken off. So that whatever number we're voting on tonight is the maximum and it will only come in lower and it will not get any bigger.
So the one thing. Again, we want to wrap this up. The only thing I want to talk a little bit about is the OPM, the $68,000 line item, Steve. For OPM. Sounds like that's a guess. And your time might be pretty minimized
Yes,
over the coming months. Would you be amenable just to make that number match the Castagna credit time for now? And then if you exceed the 17,000, we'll deal with it at that point to extend it
no.
again if necessary.
No exceeding.
Yeah. How does everybody feel about that?
Especially Doug.
Pocketbooks need to close.
Yeah, but Doug is really valuable.
Yeah, I think the point is that like he doesn't be out there full time.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. You're
I
right.
mean, $17,000 is gonna go a long way. So,
well. Not too far.
Well, let's get creative and make it work.
Yep.
well, it's either that, Steve, or we have to have at the next meeting, you come back with a number that you've estimated. The 68,000 seems
Kevin,
like a lot.
the 68,000 was, I was simply taking what I had put in the budget months and months ago
Sure. Yeah.
for based on a monthly. You're right. There's no, that would be I wouldn't have spent the 68. I mean, because we don't bill on a lump sum.
So that's just starting for 20, put in for 20, call it a day.
Cut in half, just leave it, put in 34 and then we.
I can put it in at the 17, and if a
Let's-
problem comes up, I don't know whether you wanna, wanna look at it again. Who knows what's gonna happen, but we can match it up for now, but I don't necessarily wanna close the door on it, because like was mentioned, what happens if something occurs in phase 2 and you've got to have us there full time or
Yeah.
whatever.
We'll be dealing with that as liquidated damages.
Well,
It'd be
I think
some-
we'll have to, I mean, how long do you think $17,000 will take you? Do you have any guess on that?
It won't take us out of February. I mean, like I said, I already told Doug to, sort of pack up the stuff, and, he's gonna get out of your report writer's room. We're gonna set up the table and the drawings and stuff in the mechanical room in the far corner. And then I can have him, work from either home or from the office on the stuff that he's doing now, which is drawing review. The only thing that will happen now, Chief, is, when stuff happens, doors don't work or whatever, you may end up having to, call the vendors, which is the normal process anyways, for warranty work or flipping it to Matt. At some point, we gotta have this system on if something goes wrong, who are you calling, or are you calling the vendors yourself? Because they, every vendor has a warranty. He's just been stepping in because he's there, which is fine. But if he was on another job now, he wouldn't have been there. I think we had spoken about it before that, warranty stuff would be, I don't know whether we agree, finalize it, but everything was going to be through Matt. And I've been trying to keep Matt informed of warranty issues as they come up. I just copy him on the emails.
Yeah, we've had a couple things pop up where Matt has already jumped in. Doug wasn't there or whatever, which is fine. It is a little bit of a security blanket to have in there because things get dealt with so much faster, but I understand that,
And it's not like you can't call us. I mean, I'm not saying we're closing the door, but he just won't be there for that convenience.
How does everybody feel about just leaving the 68 and just saying we have to stay in that amount?
We've moved beyond it. I think we need to be more fiscally responsible, right? The project's done. Close the books. Right. Reduce the number and manage the staff and fee to the number we have, which is nothing. So. My two cents.
If we're doing a final number and not exceeding that, I prefer to have the higher number or 40. That's where I'm at. I think it's just how the committee wants to approach that. If we want to come back, I'd rather have that little bit of buffer. So it's done. This is what we're sticking to.
So here, what I would suggest is we approve the list tonight that includes that number. But Steve, I think we need some sort of, I think if you can send it to Justin and I, and then we can figure out if we need to go to the whole committee. I think we need some sort of estimate of how you're going to proposing to staff this and what that amount comes to.
Yeah, I can do a budget so that it's well below the 68.
I think that's what we need to do.
I mean, at this point, we're doing owner meeting, contractor meetings twice a month. So it's not a lot of time in it.
I think
Pulling Doug out.
And if we approve this number tonight, the idea is it's gonna ultimately be less.
Yeah.
Yeah, cut the meetings back, right? We don't need to meet that often anymore, right?
Yeah, that's essentially what we've been doing, at least on site. We really haven't had a meeting here for a while. So you're right, Aaron. It's you don't need to have a meeting just to have a meeting.
so in theory, if we approve this number tonight, the minimum we're giving back to the taxpayers is 1.25, but probably more.
Right.
Yeah. Unless there's some change order that comes up on Castagna's end during phase two. But yeah, you're talking 1.25 million. Well, it's really gonna be more than that because we took items off the list.
Yeah. So,
I'd rather just stick with the number,
Yep.
to give us the flexibility
So-
to do what we need to do.
yeah.
Call it
Yeah.
a day.
I
Just,
agree.
just give us the proposal of how you're gonna approach the last few months here, Steve. So,
Okay.
Then take this number out and we'll vote on the rest.
sure, we can do it that way and we'll vote on the OPM number the next meeting.
Well, that's what the committee wants to do.
Or
Taking the 68 off of it, 30 basically. Yep.
And Steve, the credit that Castani is giving you is gonna allow us to process the invoice that we need to do for you, right? So you'll be good for the next meeting.
yeah, because the invoice you gave that you sent to us for last month was over by like $240.
Right.
But if you're gonna get Castagna's amount,
Yeah, I mean,
It'll cover that.
procedurally, I got to give you an amendment to increase our I mean, so I could do an amendment for the 17060
well, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
so
first
tonight-
off, and then we can deal with the rest of it later.
For tonight, put in the 17060.
Yeah.
Instead of the 68, and then just get us a plan and we can talk about it at the next meeting
And that bottom number
of what it is going forward.
162 without the 68. It's 161, 522.07.
It's also gonna go down because of the other things we
Right.
pulled out.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense, Steve?
I couldn't hear that. What was that?
So change 61 to 17060.
Yes, okay, yep, I did that.
That at least lets you bill January and by the sounds of it, February. And then next meeting, you can get us what you see going forward in the plan for that.
Okay.
So what, do you have what the new total is, or? Can we get it till we? Or do we just vote on the list as amended?
Well, what's this amended?
Yeah.
These numbers here.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be lower than what we-
But if you can maybe send this back out tomorrow, we can distribute it to the committee, so everybody has the number, Steve.
I can do that. I'll do that tonight.
All right,
I motion we approve the list as amended by the committee.
so moved. Second. All right, we'll take a roll call vote. Aaron Hunt. You muted, Aaron. Come on, Justin
Sorry, that was
Casanova.
bad timing.
Justin Casanova Davis.
I think he was keeping us in suspense.
Chief Kinney,
Yes.
Lindmark,
Yes.
Ms. Baker. Yes. Kevin Champagne, yes. All right. Next action item is approval of the meeting minutes.
I reviewed the minutes from the November 13th meeting, had no comments. I'd like to ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Okay, go for the roll call, Todd Mark,
Yes.
Chief Lee,
Yes.
Justin Casanova Davis.
Yes.
Is Aaron, Aaron was
Yep.
not here, so I think he has
Oh,
to
he can
abstain.
abstain. Yeah.
Abstain.
Well, you was here.
No,
Yes, you-
I'm the one that has to abstain.
Yeah.
I abstain.
Oh, sorry, I read that wrong.
Yeah.
But he voted.
Uh,
Chief Kinney
I
abstains.
abstain.
Aaron Hunt, you have to vote.
Aaron,
I want to abstain. No, I'm good.
Kevin Champagne,
Yes.
Chris Baker, yes.
All right. Any other action items? Seeing none, I'll ask a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Aaron Hunt,
Aye.
Casanova Davis.
Yep.
Chief Kinney,
Yes.
Todd Lindmark,
Yes.
Chris Baker,
Yes.
Kevin Champagne, yes. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.